Nigerians are still reacting to the appointment of new service chiefs by President Bola Tinubu, who is presently in France. As stated in his manifesto, Tinubu is up and running and ensuring that a lasting solution is achieved concerning insecurity in the country. To achieve this purpose, President Bola Tinubu on Monday appointed Malam Nuhu Ribadu, among others, as National Security Advisor, the first without military background since the return to democratic governance in 1999. Ribadu, an intelligence police operative who retired as Assistant Inspector General of Police AIG, was the first chairman of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC. The new NSA will become the third retired police officer to be appointed to the position after the late Gamboji Mehta and Ismail Agwazo. So joining us now on the morning show as we look at the role of the new NSA in Tinubu's administration is Jim Caulcrick, retired Assistant Inspector General of Police, Force Criminal Intelligence and Investigation Department, Abuja. It's a pleasure to have you, Mr. Caulcrick. Let's go straight to it. At first, there's been some discordant tunes. Some people claim it shouldn't be a big deal as regards having a police officer as head of NSA. There's been some pushback by the military. In fact, we had a military officer, Major General, yesterday, also, citing something close or nuanced to that position. What's your take on people that have those reservations? Mr. Caulcrick?
Thank you. Thank you so much. Good morning, everybody. Apparently, I just think that Mr. President, who is well known, really, for targeting suitable hands, talents in aid of governance, must have actually ruminated thoroughly with several of his advisors before coming to that conclusion and decision of appointing Nuhu Ribadu as the new National Security Advisor. And I think also that it's a plus, really.
Okay, Mr. Caulcrick, we'll go on a quick break. We'll come back and we'll talk. Back with us is James Caulcrick, retired Assistant Inspector General of Police. Let's go straight to it. I asked you a question earlier on, and glad to have you back. And sorry about that pause. I asked you a question earlier on as regards, some of the words here and there as regards a police officer as NSA rather than the military officer as NSA. Discordant tunes and all of that. What's your take on that?
Thank you, Mr. Rufai. Once again, good morning, everybody. And I want to really say that it's really a commendable move, really, by Mr. President, because we also know that he has the antecedents of identifying talents and resourcefulness among those whom he would really appoint to very, very strategic and important positions. And I'm not really surprised that Malam Nuhu Ribadu has been so identified and so appointed as the NSA. Well, I definitely know that it has been the culture of the NSA to be appointed with military backgrounds, but I think this is not a precedence, really. It had happened even before in 1999. And there have been two, police senior officers. One was the former Inspector General of Police, Gamboji Mehta, as well as another very senior officer, Ismail Agwazo. So, Malam Nuhu Ribadu coming on board, really, I think is a plus. And I think also it is even an emphasis on the issue of democracy. Generally, some of us have had exposures in international peacekeeping missions, and we know definitely that's the emphasis of ensuring that, at least in democratic settings, the civil authority, takes precedence. So, and I want to believe that this actually will even encourage a synergy between all, arms of the security agencies. So I don't see anything abnormal about this appointment, and I want to say it's really indeed commendable.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Caulcrick. I'd like you to speak on intelligence. One of the things that have been highlighted with regards to Malam Nuhu Ribadu's record and CV is his expert area in intelligence gathering. And some might say that this gives him an edge in his office in terms of being the NSA. How do you think we have been able to employ intelligence in tackling insecurity in the country in the last administration, and how best can he use this experience in his current office?
No, thank you very much. I definitely know really that Madam Ribadu has had wonderful stints in the intelligence arena. He's been exposed. I mean, he's an FIB trained officer, and incidentally, we were also contemporaries while he was in service. And he's actually used his strength in intelligence to unravel so many things. And what I want to say again is that apart from the kinetic approach to countering terrorism, there is also the intelligence approach to ensuring that the sources of finances of terrorist activities are actually nipped in the bud. And I think with his own exposure, with his clout and international exposure, he should also be able to bring that to bear on his position as the NSA. And I think it's important. Intelligence is actually very, very key, because intelligence gives you the privilege to ensure that even when some of these terrorist activities are being planned, I mean, there's the proactive action which is taken to ensure that they are nipped in the bud. And of course, it's better than a reactive approach for us to now start fighting and combating terrorists. So I think he's in a good state to really apply that in synergy with all the service chiefs. And of course, I think the emphasis is on collaboration. And I think that he will be able to do, because he's been quite exposed. Thank you.
What do you think is lacking as regards intelligence space? Because there have always been complaints as regards synergy, interagency synergy. And that's why they raised the concern that will the military be willing to work as regards intelligence with a police officer?
First, I want to clarify the fact that when we're talking about the intelligence community, it's not solely, reserved to the military high command. I mean, we have the intelligence community consisting of several agencies, including even the police, the Directorate of Military Intelligence and what have you. And even some other paramilitary services are now also coming in to support that community. So, of course, we've had issues in the past where there had been inter-service rivalry, but I think that has been downplayed. And particularly, I want to really commend the immediate past intelligence community and all the service chiefs who actually collaborated and ensured that at least they were able to close the gap between different agencies. So, and I think that will certainly be improved upon with Madam Ribadu coming on board. So I do not foresee the service chiefs not wanting to. It's all about cooperation, collaboration. And I think by virtue of even his own background, he's been exposed, he's been to the National Institute for Policy and Strategic Studies, interfaced with several high-ranking military officers, and they must have had several chats and discussions on issues of intelligence. So I think he should be able to navigate perfectly among the different arms of the intelligence community.
All right, let's talk about expectations. Now, he is coming to this position with a lot in terms of what to handle. We have insecurity, we have the killings in different parts like Zamfara, Plateau, Benue. When we look at the north, we have the herdsmen and farmer clashes. We also have in the southeast the management of Biafra separatists, the continued detention of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. What are some of the key areas in terms of expectations from you for the new NSA, and how can he begin to tackle these issues, at least to the extent that you can speak to us about? I
would want to take it that well, apart from maybe the brute force or kinetic approach, there is also the dialogue approach, and I think that he would also engage, particularly with some of the community leaders, local chiefs, and what have you. And I want to believe that he has the knack really for such, and he's who I believe should be able to employ all the endowments he has to get people together, to have a kind of a dialogue and ensure that there is the give and take kind of policy, which definitely I know that this government should be able to employ to ensure that at least it's a win-win situation all over. So I want to believe that it should be well positioned to be able to bring that on board to the table.
Let's talk about worldwide collaborations as regards intelligence. Something happened. There was an incident last year, a couple of months ago, I should say, that the Americans were involved, that the Americans started evacuating their embassy, but the Nigerian intelligence authorities kept on saying, oh, everything is under control. What should we do in this new dispensation as regards collaborations with our wider partners?
Well, apparently I wouldn't believe that if we are being specific about the situation, I don't know whether you're talking about the situation in Sudan, Khartoum, and what have you. But apparently, if that's what you're talking about,
that's
I want to believe.
I'm talking about
Sorry?
the last situation that led to the evacuation of some embassy staff in America, that they said there was a bomb noted in the
Oh, in Nigeria. In Nigeria.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about, yeah.
Okay, all right. Okay. Well, it's, to me, it's the choice of the U.S. to take proactive action to evacuate their citizens, but peradventure, one might want to believe that even the situation was even escalated by the media, and even the assessment of even the American government might not really be right as to the imminent threat that is being envisaged. I want to believe that the situation then really was also quickly handled and attended to by the security agencies. So I want to believe that more efforts will definitely have to be made to ensure that at least the communities kept at bay and feel definitely secured at any point in time. And I want to also believe that the present administration should also be able to position themselves to do that, particularly with the NSA coming on board.
All right. So with regards to a statement that you made in terms of cooperation, that for the service chiefs to work effectively, they must be able to work in synergy, work in cooperation. And in the past, what we've seen, or what we've sometimes, stories that have been heard, is being precious about each position and not enough collaboration in terms of working interagencies. So, for instance, the Chief of Defense Staff, the naval, the Navy, the police, the Army, not working together. What lessons can we learn, and what role can the new NSA play in ensuring that there's communication across board, they're cooperating, and they're able to work together to tackle insecurity?
Yeah, thank you so much. First, I really want to say at least one or two things about this newly appointed NSA, that's Nuhu Ribadu, whom, of course, at one time or the other had to at least interface with, particularly at the Criminal Investigation Intelligence Department. They've actually been contemporaries. I think he has an amiable personality and has a large heart and should be able to really, collaborate with the service chiefs, even the Chief of Defense Staff. What we actually need this time around is not much of maybe emphasis on status or what have you. What we really need for Nigeria now is for us to know that there is a challenge, and a critical one for that matter. And if we as lovers of Nigeria believe that we should have a better Nigeria, there should be no emphasis on ensuring, saying that maybe I am of a superior calling and what have you. So it's a question of ensuring that there is a right atmosphere and thinking that we've got to get the job done. I want to believe also that service chiefs too would definitely want to even build on the successes of the immediate past set of service chiefs. So I want to believe that there is definitely a positive light and hope for this nation with this coming on board of the new NSA.
Part of the other arguments they also make about the new NSA that he's been in politics. Will that taint his outlook in any way, shape, or form? You forget that Nuhu Ribadu is not just Nuhu Ribadu, it was former presidential candidate Nuhu Ribadu. And also Nuhu Ribadu that has tried to run for governor so many times. He's predominantly been a politician all this while. Active politician since he left office. Will that change anything?
I wouldn't believe so. And the reason why I say this is that when we're talking about politics, I want to think that we should be able to also draw a line of demarcation or difference between issues about security. Security is actually everybody's business, and it's a prerequisite for good governance, for development, for safety, for investments, and so many other things. So when we're talking about politics, of course, politics is about governance generally, and of course there could be one thing or the other, manipulations here and there in politics and what have you. So I don't think there should be any problem really for Ribadu having doubled as a one-time politician and his duty as National Security Advisor. And I think he should have enough maturity to be able to ensure that doesn't really interface with his responsibilities as an NSA. So I don't see it as any big challenge, really.
All right. Now, the National Security Agencies Act established three principal agencies. We have the Defense Intelligence Agency, National Intelligence Agency, and the State Security Service. I'd like to focus on the State Security Service, especially because in recent times there have been criticism around their remit and them going beyond their remit. In fact, they had to release a press statement addressing that, saying that they were acting within they weren't going beyond what they were supposed to be doing, especially in cases like investigating the suspended CBN governor, also looking at cases, some high-profile cases that they were going beyond what they were created to do. What's your comment on that? Do you think that our intelligence agencies are going beyond the remit of their work, or sometimes acting as political machineries?
Well, sincerely speaking, that might actually be a very, very tough questions that you are putting on the table. But I would want to say that just as we have the Act specifying the different roles and responsibilities of the different agencies, if the DSS has at any time perhaps overshot their limits and responsibilities, of course they have to actually explain what they've been doing and take a redress. But I wouldn't want to really, as a retired police officer, I want to start prying into what the DSS is doing or had done, but would rather just in an advisory capacity believe that they should also take a sit back and reflect on what activities they have undertaken. And of course, if they have gone beyond their mandate, they should be able to redress and stick strictly to their mandate. That's all I probably want to say on this.
In building a viable security architecture, with the advisory that will be given by the new NSA, what would you say as regards image? To a large extent, and like Ayo pointed out with the DSS, a lot of people have said, yeah, the DSS, it could be deemed as political sometimes. Also, the EFCC too have been painted with that brush. What do you think this security unit should do as regards image? Because the pervasive understanding as regards their image out there is not good. Secondly, what would you itemize as a brand new security architectural thinking, as it were? What should give for us to be able to have a symbiotic relationship across the forces?
Yes, I first and foremost, I think when we're talking, let me just start from the last you mentioned. When you're talking about symbiotic relationship with the forces, I think really that that should be well promoted, no doubt, and the consciousness should live within the different forces and security agencies. And the reality is on ground, really, because it's obvious that in previous administrations, the lack of synergy and maximum cooperation and the inter-rivalry, tendencies that permeated the security agencies have actually led to non-performance and non-realization of the objective for which they set out for. So I want to believe that there is a new era now, and I think the emphasis should be to ensure that they synergize and downplay issues of status and what have you, and ensure that they get the job done perfectly. That is that. On issues of agencies being used as political tools against perhaps perceived political opponents and what have you, I want to believe that the different officers who have been appointed should also be able to reflect and make a definite resolve to stay apolitical. And I think that is what can actually give credit to the image of such agencies. And I want to believe that even the newly appointed officers are conscious of that. They will try as much as possible to strive to uphold the status of their different agencies.
All right. Yesterday, we had Dr. Ajulo come to comment on the recent case with Ambassador Oke, former DG of the NIA, and the obviously sensationalized case with the monies found in an Ikoyi apartment. And this, when the news broke, was a spotlight on corruption and security. When you think, of course, of Malam Nuhu Ribadu, we cannot forget quickly the work he did as chairman of EFCC. How do you think he would bring this experience to bear in terms of perhaps a corruption-free or at least downgrading corruption in security matters?
Oh yes, you actually said it all, and I think the Malam Nuhu Ribadu, while he was chairman of EFCC, did tremendously well, particularly with ensuring that at least he handled cases of corruption with speed and brought so many people to justice. And I do not really want to believe that he would have changed from what he used to be. Rather, I think with passing years, he must have also earned more experience, particularly this time around, when emphasis is being laid by the new administration that things will have to be straightened out, and corruption will have to really be handled and ensure that it's reduced to the barest minimum, if not entirely, erased. I want to believe that that consciousness should really be in all these chiefs of their different agencies, especially the very sensitive ones. So I would expect that there should be a resolve and a very, very specific determination by incumbents of these agencies to do Nigeria proud by ensuring that they continue that fight against corruption. It is obvious that, and we cannot hide from it, that indeed corruption is indeed a great albatross that is hindering development and progress of this nation. And we cannot hide from ensuring that we really fight it to a standstill.
Okay, as we wrap up, I want you to speak through the trial by media that we have seen grace some of our security agencies. They arrest somebody, there's a big trial by media, they put it out there. But when is the time to get to the court? Conviction is little or nothing because there was no enough fact in the first place. And that's why you see that conviction rate for bodies like EFCC is quite on the low. And other security agencies. What would you say as regards that? This trial by media that we do?
Well, yes, it's obvious that sometimes the rules are bent, particularly with regards to the rights of suspects before the law. Of course, there is also the cardinal axiom that anyone is presumed innocent until the contrary is proved. So, of course, bringing anybody and parading such in the media is definitely tantamount to that. And I would want to say that at least several agencies should actually eschew trial by media. And of course, there should also be proactive investigation and ensuring that at least all the facts are gathered before anybody is actually brought to prosecution. It's, I think it's a growing process. I think by and large, more attention will be given to that, and particularly this time around when there are hues and cry on this anomaly of trial by media. So I think the agency should be able to take you from that and make a redress where they have actually gone beyond their bounds before the law.
Well, thank you very much for your time this morning, Mr. James Caulcrick, former Assistant Inspector General of Police.